Hello and welcome to the season finale of Sandman's Bullpen, brought to you by Busted Cooler Sports Network. I'm Patrick, and this is the final week of baseball, with one game potentially clinching the World Series. What better time to call it a season here? A lot of Yankee fans would probably want this season to be over a little bit quicker, to be in all honesty, rather than seeing the Blue Jays win the World Series. And then I don't particularly think either team I want to win the World Series. I have a major issue with the Dodgers and how they run their organization, and the comments that they made last year against the Yankees. I've no love lost for them either. So it is, in some ways, it's a lose-lose situation. I think I pull a little bit more for the Blue Jays just because Donnie Baseball would finally get a ring. But in all honesty, it could care less for either team. So it's not something I'm actively looking forward to at the end of the year. So again, if you love baseball, it's been a great series. A lot of interesting games, a lot of walk-offs and intense, pitching duels and everything you look for in baseball, but just those two teams, not a fun time for a Yankee fan. And going into baseball news side of things, John Flattery is gone. 20-year veteran of Yes Network. His contract was not renewed, and he's gone. He's been with the company since 2006. And it kind of wonders what's going on in Yes Network, that they're moving on from somebody that's been in the system for that amount of time and then hadn't actually played for them. And you also see Jeff Nelson leaving. Jeff Nelson being a relatively newer personality on network, but again, guy played for us, won a championship with us. So a little interesting to see some of these guys go. Another name, John Valley. He's been an analyst for quite a while in MLB, and again, you kind of wonder. Maybe jokingly, some people were saying maybe the team being too honest about the New York Yankees hierarchy right now, and it's kind of makes you wonder if that is the case. But that's up for the audience to decide whether or not that is the case. I'm just saying. Other news: old Luke Weaver's gone. Luke Weaver is going to be a free agent, and I can't argue with the Yankee brass that they decided to move on from him. He played well all of last year. I mean, he pitched a 2.89 ERA. He went 84 innings, and then he became the closer over Clay Holmes. So I can't really knock the guy. I mean, he was a big reason on why we made it to the World Series last year. Just did not work out this year after the injury he sustained at the beginning of the year, and then him fighting with the role for Devin Williams, and that's a guy. Let's not mince words. I think he should be gone. I think he will be gone. Not much you can really say about him, but with Luke Weaver, look, he kind of reverted back to the mean. I can't be mad at him. I mean, this is the type of pitcher he's been throughout his entire career. He had one great year with us, and I'm not going to begrudge the guy. It didn't work. Hopefully he has, better numbers somewhere else and he can bounce back. And that's all I'll say about him. I'm not a big Luke Weaver hater. I mean, we got to the postseason, he wasn't pitching the same way he did last year. It's sometimes that happens. It's just baseball. Devin Williams is a different story. But just to keep it on a PG and not have me swearing up a storm, I'll leave it at I don't think he's a particularly good reliever, and I think he was a waste of money. And I'll keep it classy by refraining from bad-mouthing him. But one other guy I will badmouth because he seemed to be running off quite a bit after his Red Sox were handled in the playoffs. Our good friend Arnold Chapman seems to be quite irked with the Yankee organization and the Yankee fans that we didn't openly embrace him after he threw a meatball to Jose Altuve in the 2019 ALCS. I wonder why. I wonder why we would be a little irked about that. That every time that we traded him to any other team during a playoff run, when something happened or he was just a 1-year dealing, seemed to pitch fantastic. Even this year, complete 180 in terms of his pitching acumen. I mean, he was dead to rights. Looked like he was at the end of his career on that Pittsburgh team that really had nothing going for it other than Paul Skeens. And gets on this Red Sox team, looked as good as he's been in quite some time, and then rather than be classy and say, hey, look, it didn't work out in New York. I tried. It's hard to pitch there. I got nothing against the organization or the fans. No. He had to pull the old Ken Griffey Jr. line. Well, if I ever had to pitch in New York again, I'd retire. Buddy, if you come back to New York, and I don't think it's happening anytime soon, you've blown enough games for us that I don't think you could pitch a under 2 ERA, an under 1 ERA, and they will still not trust you worth anything. Buddy, you're not coming back. Don't worry. We don't want you. I just could not believe the just sheer arrogance to think that he's, again, is he a Hall of Fame reliever? Yeah, I'll give him that. But the sheer arrogance, the sheer egotism to think that the New York Yankees would want you. Why? And if you want to retire so bad, then retire. I'm not going to fault you, but you are what you've always been. Realistically, that if you do make it into the Hall of Fame, what do you retire as? Because your entire career when you did well was when you were a handoff, a rental for the season. Every time that you remotely were good was when you were a rental. And then even in those, you didn't do anything this season. The Red Sox didn't go anywhere. They lost to the Yankees. The same team that you complained about and said you hated. No, Chappie, we don't want you. And I honestly don't think the Red Sox want you either. Because the writing on the wall is the moment that they have anybody that is potentially better than you, you're gone. You'll be back riding in Pittsburgh or whatever team, or you're going to be out in Las Vegas or any of these one-horse teams that they're never going to be going anywhere, and you're going to be waiting around at the end of your career hoping that it could potentially be the Yankees. So spare me. You're not even Ken Griffey Jr. And even in that situation, what ended up happening to him? All this air and sniffing his own farts. What ended up happening to him? Ended up in Cincinnati when Seattle didn't want to pay for him anymore. We see what happens when you don't want to play for the Yankees. But you do you, buddy. And finally, we come to our final segment, and we'll be talking about the potential trade of Jazz Chisholm Jr. Yeah, it's a weird one. First Yankee since Alfonso Soriano to have a 30-30 season, and only among 3 Yankee players, with the other being the father of Barry Bonds, Bobby Bonds, and had a 33rd season then. And yeah, that's that's you want a trivia question? There you go. I was seeing that there were some signs that there could potentially be a situation with the Yankees deciding to trade him off or not deal with the potential contract negotiation. I've been hearing that some noise about them deciding whether or not they were going to extend his contract or potentially re-sign him for a more team-friendly deal, but they were talking about more towards the middle of the season, getting some sort of deal done, especially with this offseason coming up and with all the big-name free agents and the potential, if the Dodgers suddenly lose the World Series, that they might be gearing up to sign as many players as necessary to get back. Then you have the Mets, who had an atrocious season this year, so it is going to be a pretty heavy buyer's market, and you're going to have a lot of free agents that are going to be demanding large contracts. That being one of the hottest, free agents on the market is without a doubt going to be Kyle Tucker, and then you also have Cody Bellinger, who's potentially leaving the Yankees if the Yankees decide not to re-up with Cody Bellinger. And it's going to be interesting seeing the free agency within the next season. So we do have to watch out for that. But I kind of struggle to see. I mean, Jazz Chisholm has had he's had a couple of solid seasons with us so far. Nothing. Game changing or entirely, insane that you couldn't make a solid deal for him. He is consistently good with stolen bases. He's consistently has a little bit of power. He's those are quality things that you want in a especially him as a hybrid second, third baseman. It is a little bit interesting to see what you do with him, whether or not you go for the trade. He obviously had the big error in the ALDS that cost us. So you kind of think about, okay, do they go more defensive? Do they bring in a better bat? And if you're going to make the trade, who do you realistically go after? And is it somebody that is a 1 year loaner? Are we doing the Juan Soto again, or are we going for somebody that we can sign up for the next 3, 4, 5 years? And it's going to be interesting. I'm not against trading him, but I think you need the proper replacement rather than doing it to do it. And it's going to be interesting to especially considering he has been a solid player on base. That if you get a bunt or there's a missed ball, like, you potentially get a guy who can steal second and third and put you into scoring range. In a game where every run matters. He does give you a lot of a lot more capability on base in comparison to a lot of the more clunky, power hitters that you have in our lineup. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting where if they do decide to trade a Jazz Chisholm. I wonder where they go with it. Are they going to get somebody who's more defensive that brings in, more average and more contact, or are they going to get another power hitter? I honestly think you need somebody that brings in at least, not as much speed, I would say comparable speed, and a little bit more of a contact bat rather than, a power bat. And if they do end up bringing that in, that's my suggestion. Who that ends up being, who knows? And that'll be it. It's been a crazy season. It ended, anticlimactically for us as Yankee fans, and we just have to hope for next season that the front office and Brian Cashman figure out what they're doing for the long run, and that hopefully we can finally put it together at this point. I think I'm a little weary of this game that we continue to play. We're just good enough to make the playoffs, just good enough to make the ALDS or the ALCS, not bring home a commissioner's trophy. It is weary, if you're a fan and following all 162 games, and then you end your season on a bad note. But can't really complain considering, and I think a lot of Yankee fans need to kind of understand is we've had longer droughts. I mean, you go back and you ask a lot of these old heads that were living in the 60s and the 70s, and how long that drought was, and then the guys who grew up in the 70s and saw the championship with Reggie didn't end up seeing another one until 96. There's been longer droughts. It does get rough, and you just kind of have to go along with it. It's part of the fandom, and I can't complain. I mean, I have family members who are Mets fans that haven't seen a World Series since 1986, and it's a rough time, but you just got to keep hoping. It eventually will break through and win one. And I also have one other announcement. I alluded to it last week that I was going to be starting a new podcast. It's going to be a podcast hybrid with a documentary. It's going to be a documentary about the New York Yankees, and it will the season-by-season history of the New York Yankees, and it will be called Seasons of the Pinstriped Empire. While I won't give a exact time that it's going to be released, it is on its way, and should be done within the month. And it'll be a month-by-month documentary podcast. It'll be available on Spotify, on YouTube, and Amazon, all everywhere you can find my normal podcast for Busted Cooler. And it'll be up, and hope you enjoy it. I'm going to go in depth with the history of the New York Yankees franchise, season by season, and it'll be kind of interesting to see how the Yankees, where their origin lies, how many years it took for them to finally become a championship caliber team. It wasn't, the Yankees didn't win their first championship until 20 years after their initial creation. So it'll be interesting to go through and look at these forgotten players, and most people don't even realize about Hilltop Park, where the Yankees, where their origins come from, and the what they were called originally, and what their name was before they were the Yankees, and all the history that came before the Gilded Age of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, and then in the 1950s with DiMaggio and Berra, the Mickey Mantles and Marises. We as Yankee fans are so lucky to have seen championships and great players that have graced Yankee Stadium, graced the tapestry of the dynasties that we've seen, and there are a lot of fans that grew up. They're not living with us anymore. That grew up in the 1900s. Then grew up in the 1910s. That grew up in New York and saw the Yankees, and they were terrible, and they didn't look like they were going anywhere. They were a team that could have easily folded, and to see that they became the juggernaut that they became, to win all these championships, it's just something of a passion project that I've wanted to do, and considering I was a history major when I was in college, that I would want to give a little bit of information and give a little bit of the historical context behind the team and some of these unknown players that most people don't really know beyond the Gilded Age players that we all know and love. So look forward to that, and thank you if for every single person that has listened to me rant and rave and stumble through this first season of the Sandman's Bullpen. Thank you so much. All I gotta say is God bless, and thank you for patronizing my podcast and listening to me. And one final time for this season, let's go Yanks.